Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Zariah sits on the exam table, her feet not quite touching the floor, hands gripping the edge. Camille stands beside her, thumb rubbing slow circles on her daughter's shoulder. The door swings open. Dr. Calloway enters, white coat stiff, eyes on the folder in his hand. He doesn't look up. Symptoms? His voice is flat, already tired. My joints hurt, Zariah says. I get fevers at night. Sometimes I can't. She stops as Dr. Calloway raises a hand. He flips a page. Blood work is normal. No markers. No swelling. He glances up, gaze sliding over Zariah's face, then away. Camille steps forward, voice tight. She couldn't get out of bed yesterday. She missed school. She's... Stress, Dr. Calloway interrupts. It's common for girls her age. School, friends, hormones. It can do a lot. He taps his pen against the folder, impatient. Zariah's fingers dig into the thin paper covering the table. The sound is sharp, the only thing that seems to cut through the room's heavy air. He closes the folder with a snap. Rest. Drink fluids. Come back if it gets worse. He turns to leave. Camille's voice wavers. That's it? He pauses at the door, hand on the handle. That's it. He leaves without another word. Zariah watches the door swing shut, the finality of it settling on her chest. She pulls a battered notebook from her backpack, flips to a page labeled Symptoms, and writes in small, careful letters. Camille stands in silence, her hand trembling as she smooths Zariah's hair. Zariah's jaw sets. Her eyes are dry. She writes harder, the pen nearly tearing the page. The monitor's beeping fades, replaced by the scratch of her pen steady, unbroken. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. The folder sits on the counter, its corners bent, Zariah's name printed in block letters. Dr. Calloway flips through the pages, eyes darting past her symptoms, pausing only at the numbers. No fever today, no swelling, all your labs are fine. His tone is clipped, final. He doesn't look up. Zariah tries to speak, voice small. But my knees hurt. My fingers, sometimes I can't move them. She waits, searching his face for any sign of concern, but he is already scribbling a note, pen scratching quick and impatient. Camille shifts her weight, arms crossed. She's missed 3 days of school. She's not making this up. Her voice is steady, but her jaw is tight. He glances at Camille, then back to the folder. It's common for kids to feel aches, growing pains maybe, or stress. He checks, a box never meeting Zariah's eyes. Zariah's hands curl into fists in her lap. She tries again. It's not just aches. It burns. Last night I couldn't even hold my toothbrush. He finally looks at her, but his gaze is distant, distracted. You're anxious. That can cause all sorts of things. I'll note it. He closes the folder with a snap, setting it aside like it's settled. A nurse enters quietly, glancing at Zariah, then at Dr. Calloway. She hesitates, lips pressed together, then leaves without a word. Zariah watches her go, feeling the room shrink around her. Dr. Calloway stands, smoothing the front of his coat. We'll check again in a month. If it's still bothering you, we can talk then. He doesn't wait for a response. The door closes. Behind him. Zariah stares at the folder, still sitting on the counter, untouched except for the marks he made. Camille exhales, shoulders slumping. Zariah's eyes linger on the folder. So full of data, so empty of truth. Zariah sits on the exam table, her feet dangling. The paper beneath her legs creased and torn from her restless shifting. She watches Dr. Calloway leave, the echo of his footsteps fading down the hallway. Camille stands quietly, her hand hovering near Zariah's back but not quite touching, as if afraid to break her daughter's focus. Zariah's eyes narrow, studying the closed door. She memorizes the doctor's badge number, the way his hands moved quickly over the folder but never paused to listen. Her jaw tightens. She opens her notebook, flipping past pages of careful notes, sketches of swollen joints, lists of questions. No one has answered. Her handwriting is small, precise, each letter pressed hard into the paper. Camille finally speaks, voice low. "We'll find someone who listens, baby. I promise." Her words hang in the air, heavy with hope and doubt. Zariah doesn't answer. She draws a line under today's date, then circles a phrase. "Pain worse at night." She glances at her mother, then back at her notes. The room feels smaller now, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, casting long shadows on the wall. She recalls the medical articles she read on her phone late at night, the stories of other girls whose symptoms were brushed aside. She remembers the faces of doctors in those stories, always so certain, always so wrong. A nurse passes by the open doorway, pausing for a moment. She meets Zariah's gaze, offers a quick, sympathetic nod, then disappears down the hall. Zariah's grip on her pen tightens. Camille sighs, sitting beside her. "We'll try again, we have to." Zariah closes her notebook, tucking it into her backpack. Her face is calm, but her eyes are sharp, calculating. She's already planning her next move, already searching for answers the doctor refused to see. She slides off the table, head high, ready for the next fight. Camille stands. By the exam table, her arms folded tight across her chest. Zariah sits beside her, silent, eyes on the floor. The door swings open and Dr. Calloway steps in, glancing at his watch before looking at them. He barely masks his impatience. "Any new symptoms?" he asks, not bothering to sit. Camille's voice trembles, but she pushes forward. She's in pain. She wakes up crying. She can't write, can't even brush her hair some days. Her words spill out, frustration simmering beneath every syllable. Dr. Calloway sighs, flipping through the folder. "As I said before, her labs are fine. There's nothing medically wrong. Maybe she's overwhelmed. School can be tough at her age." Camille's jaw clenches. "You're not listening. You keep saying it's nothing, but she's suffering." "I know my daughter." He glances at Zariah, who doesn't look up. "Sometimes children express stress physically. It's not uncommon." Camille's voice rises, raw. "She's not making this up. I'm not making this up. We're here because she needs help, not excuses." A nurse lingers in the doorway, pretending to check a supply cart, but clearly listening. She glances at Camille, then at Zariah, her expression tight with sympathy. Dr. Calloway closes the folder, sets it aside. "We've done all we can. If you want a second opinion, you're welcome to it." Camille's shoulders shake. She wipes her eyes, refusing to let tears fall. "We will. Someone will listen. Someone has to." He nods curtly, already halfway. Out the door. The nurse gives Camille a small, encouraging nod before following him out. The room is quiet, thick with everything left unsaid. Camille sits beside Zariah, pulling her close. Zariah leans into her mother's side, both of them holding on, both refusing to give up. Zariah sits on the edge of the exam table, her backpack open beside her. She pulls out a worn notebook, pages filled with neat, determined handwriting. The room is quiet except for the soft scratch of her pen as she writes "autoimmune" in bold letters, circling it twice. Camille watches, her eyes heavy but hopeful. She reaches out, brushing a stray lock of hair from Zariah's forehead. "This is your story," she says softly, "and we're going to tell it right." Zariah flips through pages of symptom logs, fever spikes, and joint swelling patterns. Each entry is a small act of defiance against the dismissals she's faced. Her fingers trace graphs and timelines, the evidence growing with every stroke. The doctor clicks open briefly. A nurse peeks in, offering a brief encouraging smile before disappearing. The moment is small but significant. A quiet acknowledgement in a world that often looks away. Zariah's jaw tightens as she writes, the pen pressing harder, the ink bleeding slightly on the page. Her eyes flash with resolve. This notebook is more than paper. It's a shield, a weapon, a promise. Camille stands, gathering medical records from a nearby chair, spreading them on the counter. She circles notes marked "patient uncooperative" and "symptoms psychosomatic," her finger trembling. "They don't see her," she murmurs. Zariah looks up, meeting her mother's gaze. "They will," she replies, voice steady. "We'll make sure of it." The room feels charged, the air thick with unspoken determination. The notebook closes with a soft thud, sealing the beginning of a storm. The hallway outside the nurse's office smells faintly of disinfectant and old textbooks. Zariah sits on a vinyl chair, arms wrapped around her stomach. The nurse, Ms. Parker, glances up from her computer, her lips pressed into a thin line as she types. "So, what is it today?" Ms. Parker asks, not looking away from the screen. "My stomach hurts. I feel dizzy," Zariah whispers, voice barely above a breath. Ms. Parker sighs, finally turning to face her. "You were here last week for a headache. The week before it was your ankle. Anything else hurting today?" Her tone is dry, almost mocking. Zariah shakes her head, eyes fixed on the floor. "No, just... it really hurts." Ms. Parker stands, opens a drawer and pulls out a small bottle of ginger chews. "Try one of these. Sometimes nerves can make your tummy act up." She hands Zariah a single piece, her gaze lingering just long enough to make Zariah feel small. From the hallway, 2 teachers pass by, voices low. "She's always in here," one mutters. "Probably just wants to skip class," the other replies. Zariah hears every word. Her cheeks burn. She clutches the ginger chew in her fist, not daring to look up. Ms. Parker writes a quick note, hands it to Zariah. "Take this to your mom. You can go home for the day. Try to get some rest." Zariah stands, the chair scraping loudly on the linoleum. She walks past the nurse, who's already back at her computer, fingers tapping without pause. The note crumples in Zariah's hand as she heads for the exit, the weight of disbelief settling deep in her chest. Outside, the bell rings. Zariah moves through the crowd, invisible, her pain dismissed as just another excuse. A kettle whistles in Camille's kitchen, steam curling in the morning light. She stands at the counter, hands wrapped around a chipped mug, eyes distant. Zariah sits at the table, tracing patterns in the condensation on her glass. Camille's mind drifts back. She's a child again, sitting in a colder with her own mother, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Her mother's voice echoes, gentle but tired. "Headaches again, Cam?" The doctor glances at the chart, barely hiding his impatience. "Probably just stress," he says, scribbling something she'll never read. Camille remembers her mother's jaw tightening, the way she squeezed Camille's hand, a silent promise that she believed her. Back in the present, Camille watches Zariah wince as she shifts in her chair. She sets her mug down, moves to her daughter's side, and kneels so they're eye to eye. "You know, when I was your age, I got sick a lot, too. They never really listened to me, either." Zariah looks up, searching her mother's face for answers. "Did it ever stop?" Camille smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. "Not really. I just learned to keep asking, to keep pushing until someone hears me." Zariah nods, lips pressed together. "I don't want to give up." Camille brushes a curl from Zariah's forehead. "You won't, and I won't let you." The kettle's whistle fades. Camille stands, pours tea, her movements slow and careful. She glances at the calendar on the fridge, appointments circled in red. Each one a battle yet to be fought. She returns to the table, sliding a cup toward Zariah. "We'll keep going, together." Zariah wraps her hands around the warm mug, drawing strength from her mother's quiet resolve. Camille's promise lingers in the air, a shield against the world's doubt. The gym smells like glue and poster paint, tables lined with trifold displays. Zariah stands beside her project, hands clasped tight, eyes scanning the crowd. Her board is covered in graphs and diagrams, unexplained autoimmune symptoms in adolescence, every word chosen with care. She watches as the judges move from table to table, their smiles wide for baking soda volcanoes and solar system mobiles. A judge in a navy blazer pauses at the next table, nodding at a boy's erupting volcano. "Very creative," she says, laughing as foam spills over the cardboard mountain. Zariah straightens, hope flickering. The judge glances at her project, eyebrows raised. "Oh, medical stuff." Her tone is polite, but her attention is already drifting. Zariah clears her throat. "I studied why some kids' illnesses don't show up on tests. I tracked symptoms, looked at patterns." But the judge is already moving on, clipboard tucked under her arm. Across the gym, Zariah hears a teacher praising another student's colorful display. "So much effort. Look at those colors." Zariah's board is neat, precise, but no one stops to ask about her findings. A classmate leans over, whispering, "You always do the hard stuff. They just want something fun." Zariah forces a smile, shoulders sinking. Her mother waits near the exit, watching. Camille's eyes meet Zariah's, offering a small, proud nod. Zariah stands a little taller, even as the judges pass her by. As the awards are announced, Zariah claps politely for the winners. She gently packs away her board, careful not to bend the corners. Camille hugs her tight, whispering, "You did something real. That matters." Zariah nods, determination burning in her chest. She tucks her research under her arm, already thinking of the next question she'll chase unseen. But undeterred, the pediatric waiting room buzzes with the low hum of cartoons on a mounted TV. Zariah sits wedged between Camille and a chipped end table, her notebook balanced on her knees. Across from her, a mother rocks her son gently, whispering into his ear. The boy's eyes are red, his head resting on her shoulder. A nurse calls out a name. The mother stands, but before she leaves, she leans toward Camille. "They'll probably say it's nothing." They always do. Her voice is soft, resigned. Camille nods, her grip tightening on Zariah's hand. "It's the third time this month," she murmurs. "They keep telling us to wait it out." A teenage girl in a faded hoodie sits nearby, rubbing her knees. She catches Zariah's eye and offers a tired half-smile. "Been here all morning," she says. "I think they forgot about me." Zariah opens her notebook, jotting down a line. "Others waiting, same story." She glances around the room, noticing the same anxious faces, the same restless shifting in chairs. A father paces by the door, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. His daughter sits quietly, arms folded, gaze fixed on the floor. Factory. Receptionist calls another name, barely glancing up. The mother and son disappear down the hallway, their place quickly filled by a new family. Zariah listens to the overlapping conversations, stories of missed diagnoses and endless waiting. Camille sighs, brushing a hand over Zariah's hair. "We're not alone," she whispers. Zariah nods, her pen moving steadily. Each story she records is a brick in her growing wall of evidence. She feels the weight of every parent's worry, every child's unanswered question. The TV's volume rises, but the real noise is the quiet exchange of hope and frustration, the language of those who know what it means to wait and to be overlooked. Nurse. Janelle stands at the end of the hallway, arms folded, eyes narrowed as Dr. Calloway strides past her toward the nurses' station. She glances at Zariah and Camille through the open exam room door, her jaw set. The doctor doesn't notice her, already flipping through another file. Janelle walks into the room, her footsteps quick and purposeful. She checks Zariah's vitals, her touch gentle but her movements brisk. "You're back again, huh?" she says quietly, glancing at Camille. "Third time this month?" Camille nods, exhaustion in her eyes. He keeps saying it's nothing, but she's getting worse, Janelle's lips pressed together. She leans in, voice low. "I see this all the time. Kids like Zariah, they don't get believed. Not the way others do." She scribbles a note on the chart, the pen digging hard enough to leave an imprint on the page beneath. Dr. Calloway pokes his head in. "Vitals?" he asks, barely making eye contact. "Stable," Janelle replies, her tone clipped. She hands him the chart. Her knuckles, white around the edges. He glances at the numbers, shrugs. Nothing alarming. He hands the chart back, already turning away. Janelle waits until he's out of earshot, then mutters to Camille, "Every damn time." Her voice shakes, not with fear, but with anger. Camille squeezes her hand. "Thank you for seeing her." Janelle manages a small, sad smile. "I wish it was enough." She straightens, smoothing her scrubs, and leaves the room with her head high. Zariah watches her go, feeling both comforted and frustrated. Someone finally sees her struggle, but the system keeps moving, unchanged. Janelle pauses in the hallway, glancing back at the exam room. She lets out a shaky breath, then disappears into the steady rhythm of her shift. A dim monitor glows in the corner of Camille's living room. Zariah sits cross-legged on the floor, laptop open, her mother beside her. Together, they watch grainy, hospital security footage. The timestamp flickers in the corner as Dr. Calloway enters exam room 2. He spends less than 2 minutes with Zariah, barely glancing at her chart before moving on. Zariah clicks forward. The next video shows Dr. Calloway in another room with a blonde girl. He sits, leans in, listens carefully, nods as she speaks. The clock in the corner ticks past 20 minutes. Camille's lips press into a thin line. "See how long he stays?" Zariah whispers, voice tight. Camille nods, jaw clenched. "He never even sat down with you." Zariah rewinds, pausing on the moment Dr. Calloway stands at the door, hand on the knob, already halfway gone before she finishes her sentence. She saves the clip, labeling it Evidence 1. Her reflection stares back from the laptop screen, eyes sharp with determination. A soft knock at the door startles them. Janelle steps in, holding a folder. "I thought you might want this," she says, handing over a printout of appointment times. She glances at the laptop, recognizing the footage. "He's always in a hurry with certain families," Janelle says quietly, her voice heavy with meaning. "But he'll sit and talk for ages with others." Camille sighs, flipping through the printout. "It's all here. The proof." Zariah nods, her fingers trembling as she adds the file to her growing folder of evidence. "He can't say it's just our imagination now," she says, voice steady. Janelle squeezes Zariah's shoulder before leaving. "Keep going. You're doing what most people can't." The room feels charged, the truth finally caught on camera. Zariah's resolve hardens. This time, the facts are on her side. Zariah sits at her desk, the glow of a small lamp casting shadows across the pages of her notebook. Colored pens are scattered around her, each one marking a different symptom: red for pain, blue for fever, green for swelling. She flips to a fresh page, draws a timeline, and begins to chart the latest flare-ups. Her handwriting is careful, every letter pressed deep into the paper. Monday. Woke up stiff, knees wouldn't bend. Tuesday. Fever at 3 a.m., chills. She pauses, glancing at a thermometer on the nightstand, then records the numbers. Each entry is a small act of control in a world that keeps slipping away. Camille enters quietly, watching her daughter work. "You're up late again," she says, concerned about softening her voice. "I have to keep track," Zariah replies, not looking up. "If I don't, they'll say it's nothing. They'll say I'm making it up." Camille sits beside her, picking up a pen. "Show me how you do it." Zariah smiles, just a little, and explains her color code. She points to a graph, lines rising and falling like a heartbeat. "See? The pain always gets worse at night. It's not random." Camille nods, pride flickering in her eyes. "This is real. You're showing them." Zariah adds a new note. "Mother helped tonight." She circles it, then closes the notebook with a gentle thud. A text buzzes on her phone. It's Janelle. "Keep documenting. It matters." Zariah glances at her mother, then at the pile of notebooks stacked on the desk. "One day they'll have to listen," she says, voice quiet but certain. She turns off the lamp, slipping the latest notebook under her pillow. The room settles into darkness, but her resolve burns bright, every page a shield against disbelief. Zariah sits at the kitchen table, laptop open, cursor blinking in a blank email. She hesitates, then types, "Dear Dr. Malhotra, I'm 12. I've tracked my symptoms for months. My doctors say it's nothing, but I know it's not. Can you help me understand what's happening?" She reads it over, breaths held, then clicks send. Camille pours tea at the counter, watching her daughter with quiet worry. "You sent it?" she asks. Zariah nods, closing the laptop. "I don't know if she'll answer. She's famous. She probably gets 1,000 emails." Camille sits beside her, sliding a mug across the table. "You did everything right. Someone will listen." The kitchen is silent except for the ticking clock. Zariah drums her fingers on the table, eyes darting to the screen every few seconds. Camille tries to distract her, talking about the weather. A new book, but Zariah's focus never wavers. Suddenly, the laptop dings. Zariah's heart leaps. She opens her inbox. The subject line reads, "Your research." She clicks, hands shaking. Dr. Malhotra's reply is short but kind. "Zariah, your notes are remarkable. I'd like to talk more. Can you and your mom join a video call tomorrow?" "You're very brave." Zariah's breath catches. "She wrote back," she whispers. Camille leans over, reading the message. Relief and pride mix in her eyes. "See? You're not alone in this." Zariah types a quick reply, confirming the call. She sits back, a small smile tugging at her lips. For the first time in months, hope feels real. She glances at her notebook, fingers brushing the cover. "Tomorrow I'll show her everything," she says softly. Camille squeezes her hand. "This is just the beginning." Zariah nods, determination settling in her chest. The waiting is over. Someone finally believes her. Camille sits at the dining table long after midnight, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. She spreads Zariah's medical records across the wood, each folder a chapter of unanswered questions. She reads every note, every summary, her finger tracing phrases in red ink. Patient uncooperative. Complaints not consistent. Psychosomatic suspected. She pulls out her phone, snapping photos of the most damning pages. Her hand shakes, but she keeps going. She marks dates on a legal pad, drawing lines between appointments, ER visits, and school absences. The pattern is impossible to ignore. Zariah appears in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Mom? Why are you still up?" Camille forces a smile. "Just organizing things, honey. Go back to bed." Zariah steps closer, glancing at the papers. "Are those all mine?" Camille nods, her voice tight. "Every single one. I'm making sure nothing gets lost. Not this time." Zariah sits beside her, picking up a page. "What does this mean?" She points to a note. "Symptoms exaggerated." Camille's jaw clenches. "It means they didn't believe you, or me. But we're going to change that." She hands Zariah a highlighter. "Help me mark anything that feels wrong." Together they go through the records, highlighting, circling, and annotating. Zariah finds a note about a missed follow-up. Camille underlines it twice. A text from Janelle pops up on Camille's phone. "Let me know if you need anything. I'm with you." Camille exhales, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "We're building a case," she says quietly. "They can't ignore us forever." Zariah leans her head on her mother's shoulder, comforted by the shared fight. The table is covered in evidence now, every page a piece of the truth they refuse to let slip away. Zariah sits at her desk, laptop open, the glow of the screen reflecting in her determined eyes. The application for the National Young Medical Prodigy competition fills the page. She attaches her research, symptom logs, graphs, timelines, and Dr. Malhotra's endorsement letter. Her hands hover over the keyboard, nerves prickling her skin. Camille stands in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her daughter work. "You ready?" she asks, voice soft but steady. Zariah nods, swallowing hard. Almost. She scrolls to the last question. Why medicine? Her fingers pause, then she types, to be the listener I never had. She reads it twice, then presses submit. The confirmation screen pops up. Zariah exhales, shoulders dropping. Camille moves closer, placing a hand on her back. You did it, she whispers. Zariah closes her eyes for a moment, letting the relief wash over her. Now we wait, she says, voice barely above a whisper. Camille squeezes her shoulder. No matter what happens, I'm proud of you. Oh. Notification pings on the laptop. Zariah's entry is received. She glances at her notebook, the evidence of months of pain and persistence stacked beside her. She feels the weight of every dismissal, every overlooked symptom, and every night spent awake with questions no one else would answer. She stands, stretching her arms, the tension in her body slowly easing. Camille hugs her, holding her close. You're changing things, Zariah, even if they don't see it yet. Zariah nods, a small smile breaking through. They will, she says, one way or another. She leaves her room, the laptop screen still glowing in the dark. The application is sent, her story now in the hands of strangers. For the first time, she feels the tide turning, a quiet reckoning set in motion by her own courage. The glow of a phone screen lights up Zariah's face in a dim room. Notifications flood in, tweets, messages, news alerts. One tweet stands out. 12-year-old black girl diagnoses herself after doctors failed. Listen to Zariah. Camille watches from the doorway, eyes wide with disbelief and pride. Zariah's inbox fills with stories from patients worldwide, their voices finally heard. The hashtag trends, spreading like wildfire across social media. A news alert flashes on the TV. Hospital under scrutiny after young Prodigy exposes medical bias. The room hums with the weight of public attention. Zariah's phone buzzes. Again. She reads a message from a stranger. Your story gave me hope. Thank you. Her fingers tremble as she types a quiet reply. Camille leans in, whispering, They can't ignore you now. Outside, the hospital's reputation begins to crack. Staff exchange uneasy glances. Dr. Calloway sits at his desk, phone buzzing relentlessly. His face tightens as he watches the hashtag climb. A nurse passes by, shaking her head softly. Finally, the truth. Zariah closes her phone, determination settling in her eyes. The world is watching, and the system can no longer look away. Dr. Calloway sits alone in his office, the glow of his computer screen casting harsh shadows across his face. His phone vibrates non-stop, each alert a fresh headline. Hospital faces backlash. Listen to Zariah trending worldwide. He scrolls through the messages, hands trembling, jaw clenched tight. He glances at his framed diploma on the wall, the glass rattling as he slams a drawer shut. The noise startles him, echoing in the empty room. He stands, pacing, running a hand through his hair. Every few minutes, he checks his email board meeting notifications, patient complaints, and requests for comment from reporters. A nurse walks past his open door, pausing just long enough to meet his eyes. Her look is different now. Not respect, not even pity, but a quiet reckoning. She moves on without a word. Calloway sits back down, staring at his hands. The confidence he once wore like armor is gone. He pulls up the hospital's social media page and sees his own name, tagged again and again, each post a reminder of what he's lost. He tries to call a colleague, but the line rings and rings before going to voicemail. He leaves no message. There's nothing left to say. Outside, he hears staff whispering, the sound muffled but unmistakable. He catches fragments. Finally. Should have listened. About time. He closes his eyes, the weight of their judgment pressing down. He looks at the trending hashtag one more time, the letters blurring. His legacy, once so certain, now reduced to a warning. He shuts off his computer, the screen fading to black. In the darkness, Dr. Calloway is left with only the sound of his own breathing and the knowledge that the walls around him are crumbling, one headline at a time. The boardroom is packed, the air thick with anticipation and unease. Cameras line the back wall, red lights blinking. Zariah sits at the long table, hands folded, notes stacked neatly before her. Camille sits just behind, her presence a quiet anchor. Dr. Calloway enters, shoulders rigid, eyes darting to the cameras. Before settling on the floor, a board member clears her throat. "We're here to review recent events. Ms. Brooks, you may begin." Zariah's voice is steady. "I tracked my symptoms for months. I brought my notes. I asked for help. I was told it was nothing." A low murmur ripples through the room. "Doctor?" Calloway shifts in his seat, knuckles pale as he grips the armrest. A journalist scribbles furiously, eyes flicking between Zariah and the doctor. The hospital's legal counsel whispers to the board chair, who nods, face unreadable. Zariah continues, "I compared my appointments to others. I was seen for less than 2 minutes. Others got 20. She slides a printout across the table. The board members lean in, studying the evidence. Dr. Calloway's voice is thin. "We follow standard assessment." A board member interrupts. "We're not discussing routine. We're discussing care." The cameras catch every twitch, every glance. Camille's hand tightens around her purse strap. Zariah's gaze never wavers. A nurse in the back stands, voice clear. "She's telling the truth. We all saw it." Into this room stills. Dr. Calloway doesn't look up. The board chair finally speaks. "Thank you, Ms. Brooks. We'll review your report and make our findings public." Zariah nods, her calm unbroken. The cameras zoom in as she gathers her notes, the quiet dignity in her movements unmistakable. The power in the room has shifted, the old order exposed by the steady voice of a girl who refused to be overlooked. Zariah stands at the front of the boardroom, a remote in her hand. The projector hums to life, casting a grainy video on the wall. She clicks to the first slide. Security footage. Dr. Calloway entering her exam room, glancing at his watch, barely pausing before leaving again. She speaks, voice clear. "This is my appointment. 90 seconds." The room is silent except for the soft whir of the projector. She clicks again. Another video plays. Dr. Calloway in a different room, sitting with a white patient, listening, nodding, taking notes. The timestamp runs past 20 minutes. A board member leans forward, brow furrowed. "Is this typical Dr. Calloway?" He shifts in his seat, jaw tight. "Each case is different. Some require more time." Zariah doesn't flinch. "I came in with the same symptoms. I was told to rest." She was given a referral. A journalist's pen hovers, waiting for a response. Another board member glances at the printouts Zariah distributed. The pattern is clear. Short visits, repeated complaints, no follow-up. Dr. Calloway's face reddens. He looks down, fingers twisting a ring on his hand. Camille watches from the back, pride and pain mingling in her eyes. Zariah advances to the next slide, a chart comparing appointment lengths. This isn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern. A nurse in the corner nods, murmuring, "She's right." The boardroom feels smaller, the evidence undeniable. Dr. Calloway's defenses falter. The power in the room has shifted. The truth is on display for everyone to see. Zariah lets the footage play out, the seconds ticking by, each one a silent indictment. She steps back, remote at her side, and meets the eyes of every person in the room. No one looks away. A board member holds up Zariah's medical file, pages thin and uneven, gaps where details should be. She looks directly at Dr. Calloway. "Why are there missing notes? No follow-up, no referrals, no pain scale. Can you explain?" Dr. Calloway's voice is tight. "I recorded what was necessary. Her lab results were within normal limits." Zariah sits upright, her gaze unwavering. "I described my pain every time. It was never written down." The board member flips through the file, tapping a blank space. This is your handwriting, doctor. Why is this section empty? He swallows, eyes darting to the cameras. Sometimes details get left out. There's a lot to keep track of. A second board member leans in, voice even. But there are full notes for other patients. Why not for her? Dr. Calloway's fingers drum the table, a faint tremor in his hands. I treated her the same as anyone else. Zariah's mother, seated behind her, whispers, "That's not true." Her words hang in the air. A nurse in the corner shifts, arms crossed. "She came in crying. You wrote mild discomfort." The board member closes the file, setting it on the table with a quiet finality. This isn't about paperwork, it's about care, about listening. Dr. Calloway looks down, shoulders hunched. The boardroom is thick with expectation, every eye on him. Zariah folds her hands, steady. "You didn't see me. You saw a problem to dismiss." A long pause follows. The board chair speaks softly. "We're not here to blame, but to find the truth." Dr. Calloway nods, but his confidence is gone. The gaps in the file are more than mistakes. They're evidence of a system that failed to see her. Zariah stands before the boardroom table, her research spread out like a map of her journey. Charts, symptom logs, and Dr. Malhotra's notes lie neatly arranged. Her voice is calm, steady, carrying the weight of months of silence. "You saw a stereotype," she says softly, eyes meeting each board member's gaze. "I saw a puzzle." The room shifts. The CFO adjusts his tie, avoiding her eyes. A junior board member leans forward, fingers tapping nervously on the table. The air is thick with unspoken truths. Dr. Calloway sits rigid, his face pale. He glances at the documents, then at Zariah, the realization dawning too late. "Your symptoms were real," Zariah continues, "but they were invisible to you, to the system." A board member clears her throat, voice low. "How did this happen?" Zariah's gaze doesn't waver. Bias, assumptions, a failure to listen. The room is silent except for the faint hum of the projector. The weight of her words settles like dust. Dr. Calloway's hands tremble slightly as he folds a paper. His confidence, once a shield, now feels fragile. Zariah folds her hands, the quiet strength in her posture undeniable. "I'm not here to accuse. I'm here to be heard, to change the story." The cameras capture every moment, the power shifting quietly but irrevocably. A nurse in the back nods, eyes shining with unshed tears. A board member exhales, the first crack in the old order. Zariah steps back, the room holding its breath. The quiet strike has landed, and the system can no longer ignore the truth. Dr. Calloway leans toward the microphone, fingers trembling as he tries to compose himself. "I never meant—" The words catch in his throat, and suddenly a burst of static fills the speakers, sharp and jarring. He recoils, startled, his face flushed. The boardroom waits, the tension thick. He clears his throat, voice smaller now. I thought I was being thorough. I followed the usual steps." His eyes dart to the board members, searching for support, but none comes. A technician at the back of the room adjusts a cable, glancing up with a shrug. The static fades, but the moment lingers, awkward and exposed. Zariah stands silent, her hands folded. She doesn't flinch, doesn't offer comfort. Her calm is unbroken, her gaze steady on the man who once dismissed her. A board member leans forward, voice measured. "You didn't answer her. You didn't answer us." Dr. Calloway's hands grip the edge of the table. I was overwhelmed. There are so many patients. Sometimes you miss things." A nurse in the back shakes her head, lips pressed tight. The room is silent, every eye on Dr. Calloway. He tries again, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize." The apology hangs in the air, thin and uncertain. Zariah's mother watches, her expression unreadable. The board chair finally speaks, voice low but clear. "Intent doesn't heal. Listening does." Dr. Calloway nods, defeated, the static from the microphone echoing in his mind. He sits back, shoulders slumped, the weight of his choices settling over him. Zariah remains standing, her presence filling the room. The power has shifted, and everyone feels it. Camille sits in the front row, hands clasped tightly in her lap. As Dr. Calloway's apology fades, her eyes glisten with tears she refuses to wipe away. She watches her daughter stand tall, unshaken, the center of a storm she never asked for. The boardroom is hushed, every breath held. A black nurse near the back presses a fist to her chest, nodding with quiet pride. She glances at Camille, their eyes meeting for a brief, understanding moment. Two women who have waited too long to be believed. A board member's assistant, phone in hand, types furiously. They're finally listening. Her fingers tremble, the message sent before she can second-guess it. Across the room, a white-haired doctor shifts in his seat, clearing his throat but says nothing. The old guard feels the change, uneasy but unable to stop it. Camille leans forward, her tears falling freely now, pride and sorrow mingling in every drop. She remembers every night Zariah woke up crying, every time she was told to wait, to trust, the system, to be patient. Now, patience has run out. Zariah glances back, meeting her mother's gaze. No words are needed. Camille nods, the smallest smile breaking through. The pain was real. The fight was worth it. The board chair looks around the room, seeing the emotion ripple through staff and visitors alike. The atmosphere is different, heavier, but also lighter, as if a burden has been shared at last. A reporter lowers her camera, wiping her own eyes before raising it again. The story is no longer just about failure, it's about courage, about change. Camille exhales, a shaky breath, and sits a little straighter. Today her daughter's voice was heard. Today, something shifted. The board chair clears her throat, fingers wrapped around a wooden gavel. She glances at Zariah, then at the stack of evidence on the table. The room is silent, anticipation thick. "Ms. Brooks," she says, voice steady but soft, "your perseverance and research have brought to light what we failed to see." She nods to an assistant who slides a crisp envelope across the table. "We are awarding you a full scholarship to the state's Young Medical Scholars Program. Your work will be published in our annual review." Her words land gently, but the impact is seismic. Zariah's eyes widened. She glances at Camille, who covers her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Zariah swallows, voice barely above, a whisper. "Thank you." The board chair raises the gavel and taps it once, the sound echoing through the room. "Dr. Calloway, you are suspended pending further review." The doctor's shoulders slump, resignation etched in every line of his face. A ripple passes through the audience. The nurse in the back smiles, relief and vindication mingling in her eyes. The board members exchange glances, some ashamed, others quietly proud to witness change. Zariah stands, gathering her notes with careful hands. She doesn't linger, doesn't bask in the applause. Her dignity is quiet, her victory measured. She turns to Camille, who rises to embrace her, the hug fierce and trembling. The cameras flash, capturing the moment. Reporters murmur, scribbling headlines. "Prodigy exposes hospital bias," one whispers. As the room empties, the board chair watches Zariah leave, a thoughtful expression on her face. The gavel's echo still lingers, a reminder that justice, when it comes, is often quiet but unmistakable. Zariah steps into the hallway, the weight of her journey replaced by a new, brighter hope. Dr. Calloway stands at the edge of the boardroom, shoulders hunched, eyes fixed on the floor. The chatter fades as he gathers his belongings: a battered briefcase, a stack of files, a stethoscope he barely remembers using today. He avoids the cameras, keeping his gaze low, moving stiffly toward the exit. Reporters cluster near the door, microphones pointed like accusations. "Any comment, doctor?" one calls. He shakes his head, lips pressed in a thin line, and pushes past them without a word. The hallway feels longer than usual, each step echoing with memories of authority now slipping away. A janitor pauses by the wall, mop in hand, watching him pass. Their eyes meet for a moment. A flicker of recognition. Not respect. The janitor nods once, slow and deliberate, then returns to his work, the mop swishing quietly over the tile. Dr. Calloway presses the elevator button, waiting in uncomfortable silence. A nurse approaches, glancing at his ID badge before looking away. She offers no greeting, just a curt nod as she walks by. The elevator doors slide open. He steps inside, turns, and faces the closing doors. His reflection stares back, drawn and tired, the man in the glass no longer certain of his place. As the elevator descends, he clutches his briefcase tighter. The hospital's intercom crackles with an announcement he barely registers. When the doors part, he steps out into the lobby, unnoticed by the staff he once commanded. Outside, the sunlight is harsh. He stands for a moment, blinking, then walks away from the building, his figure shrinking as he disappears into the crowd. The hospital doors close behind him, sealing away the chapter he never thought would end. Morning light spills through the kitchen window as Zariah scrolls through her phone, headlines flashing across the screen. Prodigy exposes hospital bias. Listen to Zariah tops trends. Her name is everywhere, her story retweeted by strangers and news anchors alike. Camille pours coffee, pausing to read over her daughter's shoulder. "Look at this, Mom," Zariah says, voice trembling with disbelief. "People are sharing their own stories. They're saying they finally feel seen." Camille sits beside her, eyes shining. "You did that, Zariah. You made them listen." Across town, Dr. Calloway sits alone at his kitchen table, the same headlines glaring from his own phone. His hand shakes as he scrolls, reading comment after comment. "She's so brave. How many others were ignored?" He sets the phone down, rubbing his temples. At the hospital, the staff lounge is abuzz. Nurses cluster around a tablet, watching a news segment about Zariah's case. "She's incredible," one whispers. About time someone spoke up. A doctor, silent, sips his coffee, eyes on the floor. A janitor tapes a printout of the trending hashtag to the staff bulletin board. The letters are bold, impossible to miss. Staff pause as they pass, some nodding, some frowning, all aware that things are different now. Zariah's phone buzzes again. A message from Dr. Malhotra. "You're changing the world. Don't stop." She smiles, hope blooming in her chest. Camille hugs her, holding her close. "This is just the beginning," she whispers. Outside, the city wakes to a new day. The hashtag lives, a banner for those who were never heard. Zariah's story is no longer just heard. It belongs to everyone who refuses to be silent. The boardroom is quieter now, sunlight filtering through half-closed blinds. Zariah's chair sits empty at the long table, a silent reminder of the voice. That changed everything. New training manuals are stacked neatly in the corner, their covers crisp, untouched. A janitor enters, pausing to remove Dr. Calloway's nameplate from the door. He replaces it with a simple sign. In review, board members file in, subdued. A nurse takes a seat, flipping through the new materials, her brow furrowed in concentration. A young doctor reads the first page, lips moving silently as he absorbs the words. The atmosphere is different, expectant, uncertain, but charged with the possibility of something better. A staff member glances at the empty chair, then at the stack of manuals. "It feels different in here," she whispers to a colleague. He nods, eyes on the door, as if waiting for someone to walk in and fill the space. The board chair calls the meeting to order. "Today marks a new beginning," she says, voice steady. "We're here to ensure every patient is heard, every concern documented, every staff member accountable." A ripple of agreement moves through the room. The old routines are gone, replaced by a sense of responsibility that is both heavy and hopeful. In the hallway, the janitor wipes the glass on the door, watching his reflection blur and sharpen. He smiles just a little before moving on to the next task. The meeting continues, each agenda item a step toward change. The empty chair remains, a quiet symbol of what was lost and what was finally found. Down the corridor, sunlight glints off the new sign. The hospital is shifting, not with fanfare but with the steady work of those determined to do better. Dr. Calloway sits alone in his apartment, the morning sun barely reaching the corners of the cluttered living room. Headlines about Zariah's victory lie scattered across the coffee table, their bold letters a daily reminder of everything that's changed. His phone is silent, no calls from colleagues, no new messages from the hospital. He scrolls through social media, watching as his name appears in threads about bias and accountability. Each post feels like a verdict. He starts to type a response, then deletes it, the words catching in his throat before they ever reach the screen. The television plays quietly in the background, a news anchor recapping the hospital's new training initiative. Dr. Calloway's gaze drifts to the window, where the city moves on without him. He stands, crossing to the kitchen, only to pause as he notices a stack of unopened mail. Among the bills is a letter from the hospital. The envelope, thin and formal. He opens it with shaking hands. "We wish you well in your future endeavors." The words blur, his eyes stinging. He drops the letter onto the pile of headlines, the paper landing with a soft, final sound. He sits again, rubbing his temples, the silence in the apartment pressing in. He remembers the boardroom, the cameras, and Zariah's steady voice. He remembers the look on Camille's face, the nurse's nod, the janitor's quiet witness. Each memory is sharp, unyielding. Outside, traffic hums, life continuing as if nothing has changed. Inside, Dr. Calloway is left with only the echo of his own choices and the knowledge that the world has moved forward, with or without him. Dr. Calloway stands in line at the grocery store, basket in hand, eyes fixed on the floor. He feels the weight of glances from across the aisle. A former colleague from the hospital, Dr. Singh, spots him near the produce section. Their eyes meet for a moment. Dr. Singh gives a stiff nod, then turns away, pretending to compare apples, the conversation they once shared now replaced by a gulf of discomfort. At the checkout, the cashier recognizes him, her smile fading as she scans his items. "Hope you're doing well, doctor," she says, voice polite but distant. He forces a smile, mumbling thanks, aware of the subtle shift in her tone. Later, at the neighborhood cafe, Dr. Calloway takes a seat by the window. A nurse he once mentored, Maria, walks in with a friend. She sees him, hesitates, then chooses a table on the far side of the room. Their eyes meet briefly, but she looks away, focusing on her coffee, her laughter quieter than before. The barista brings his order, setting the cup down without a word. The cafe's usual warmth is gone, replaced by an unspoken tension. Dr. Calloway stirs his coffee, watching the steam curl and fade. Conversations around him continue, but he is no longer part of them. He leaves a tip, stands and walks out, the bell above the door ringing in his wake. On the sidewalk, he passes another former co-worker who crosses to the other side of the street. Dr. Calloway slows, feeling the distance grow with every step. At home, he sits by the window, watching the world move on. The isolation is complete, not by decree but by choice of others, and of his own making. Accountability, he realizes, is a lonely companion. Zariah walks through the hospital's main corridor, sunlight streaming through tall windows. Staff pause as she passes. A young nurse offers a genuine smile. A doctor nods respectfully, and a receptionist greets her by name. The air feels lighter, the tension that once filled these halls replaced by something warmer, more hopeful. Janelle, now wearing a new badge that reads "Charge Nurse," approaches with a proud grin. "You did it, Zariah. You really did." She gives Zariah a quick hug, then steps back, her eyes shining. Other nurses gather nearby, whispering words of encouragement, their faces open and welcoming. A senior physician stops, extending a hand. "Thank you for what you've done. We're listening now." Zariah shakes his hand, feeling the sincerity in his grip. Camille stands a few steps behind, watching her daughter move with newfound confidence. She exchanges a look with Janelle, a silent acknowledgement of the battles fought and the walls that finally began to fall. A group of medical students pass, one pausing to say, "We studied your case in class. You're an inspiration." Zariah blushes, but her smile is wide, her posture tall. As she continues down the hall, staff who once overlooked her now meet her gaze. The hospital's energy is different. Conversations are softer, eyes are kinder, and there's a sense that every patient matters a little more. Zariah pauses at a window looking out over the city. She breathes in, letting the moment settle. For the first time, these halls feel welcoming, filled with possibility instead of barriers. Camille joins her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You changed this place," she whispers. Zariah nods, hope blooming in her chest. The warmth of recognition is real, and she knows the fight was worth it. Dr. Calloway sits at his kitchen table, the morning sun casting pale rectangles across a stack of unopened mail. Among the bills and advertisements is an envelope bearing the hospital's logo. He hesitates, then tears it open, eyes scanning the formal language. "We wish you the best in your future endeavors." The words are cold, final, and unmistakable. He folds the letter, its weight heavier than he expected. For a moment, he just sits, staring at the paper in his hands. The kitchen is silent except for the faint ticking of a wall clock and the distant hum of traffic outside. He stands and moves to the trash can, holding the letter for a moment before dropping it in. The paper lands on top of yesterday's news, headlines barely visible beneath the hospital's crisp letterhead. The gesture is small, but it marks the end of something he once thought unshakable. He glances around his apartment, the familiar space suddenly foreign. The framed certificate on the wall feels hollow now, its significance erased by a single sheet of paper. He pours himself a cup of coffee, but the taste is flat, the ritual empty. His phone buzzes with a calendar reminder for a shift he'll never work again. Outside, neighbors passed by his window, their faces turned away. The world continues, indifferent to his loss. Dr. Calloway sits back down, staring at the trash, the letter already half buried. The finality of it settles in, not just the end of a job, but the closing of a chapter defined by authority and routine. He exhales, a long, slow breath, the sound filling the quiet room. The era of certainty and comfort is over, replaced by uncertainty and regret. The letter in the trash is more than a dismissal. It is the tangible proof that actions have consequences, and some doors close forever. The conference room buzzes with quiet excitement as Zariah stands at the front, a circle of young students gathered around her. Their faces are eager, notebooks open, pens poised to capture every word. Janelle, now a mentor herself, sits nearby, watching with pride as Zariah shares her journey. Zariah gestures to a whiteboard filled with colorful diagrams and timelines. "I started with a notebook," she says, her voice steady. "Every symptom, every pattern, every question I had, I wrote it down. That's how I found my voice." A boy raises his hand, eyes wide. "Weren't you scared they wouldn't listen?" Zariah smiles gently. "I was, but I kept going. Sometimes you have to be your own advocate before others join you." Janelle chimes in. "And sometimes you find allies in unexpected places. Don't be afraid to ask for help." A girl in the front. Ro flips through her notes, then looks up. "How did you know you were right?" Zariah pauses, considering. "I didn't, not at first. But I trusted what I felt. I trusted my story. That's where change begins." The group nods, some scribbling furiously, others just listening, soaking in the hope and determination in Zariah's words. Camille stands at the back, tears in her eyes, watching her daughter inspire a new generation. The room feels different now, open, welcoming, filled with the energy of possibility. As the session ends, students gather to thank Zariah, their questions spilling over. Janelle offers her a high five, grinning. You're planting seeds, Zariah. This is how it grows. Zariah looks around at the faces, diverse, determined, and full of potential. She realizes her fight was never just for herself. The torch has been passed, and the future feels brighter. The hospital auditorium fills with staff from every department, the air charged with anticipation and a hint of unease. Rows of chairs face a large screen where the words, bias awareness, training are displayed. Zariah's story is the opening case study, her name spoken with respect and a new sense of responsibility. A facilitator steps up, voice calm but firm. Today we look at what went wrong and how we move forward. She clicks to a slide showing Zariah's timeline, her symptoms mapped against missed opportunities. The audience shifts in their seats, some crossing their arms, others leaning. Eyes intent. A veteran nurse frowns, recalling moments she dismissed a patient's concerns. A young doctor scribbles notes, determined not to repeat the mistakes of the past. The facilitator invites discussion, and voices rise. One staff member admits, "I never realized how easy it was to overlook someone." Another adds, "We have to do better." Janelle stands, sharing her experience as both a witness and an ally. "It's not enough to notice, we have to act." Her words hang in the air, a challenge and a promise. The training continues, staff breaking into small groups to talk through scenarios, each conversation more honest than the last. Walls that once separated departments and roles begin to crumble, replaced by a collective commitment to change. As the session ends, the facilitator reminds them, awareness is just the start. Accountability is the goal. Staff linger, some exchanging numbers, others quietly reflecting on what they've learned. Zariah's story is no longer just a warning, it's a catalyst. The hospital's foundation is shifting, lesson by lesson, conversation by conversation. The system, once rigid and unyielding, is finally learning to listen. Spotlights sweep across a packed auditorium as Zariah steps onto the stage, her nerves steadied by the weight of her journey. Rows of scientists, students, and doctors watch, in silence, notebooks open, eyes expectant. She stands at the podium, her research projected behind her, a mosaic of data, timelines, and hard-won insight. She begins, voice clear and unwavering. "I was 12 when I started tracking my symptoms. I was told it was nothing, that I was exaggerating, but I knew my body. I knew my truth." The audience leans in, drawn by the conviction in her words. A professor in the front row nods, jotting notes. A young girl in the crowd watches, hope flickering in her eyes. Zariah continues, "I learned that sometimes the hardest thing is to keep speaking when no one wants to hear you. But change starts with one voice." She shares her findings, her process, the obstacles she faced. She credits her mother, her mentors, and the allies who chose to listen. "Justice isn't loud," she says. "It's steady, it's patient, and it endures." Applause builds, not thunderous but respectful, a recognition of both struggle and triumph. Zariah smiles, humbled and proud. After the talk, students approach with questions, eager to learn, to follow her example. A renowned researcher shakes her hand. "Your courage will shape this field," he says. Zariah thanks him, her heart full. As the symposium ends, her words linger in the air, a quiet anthem for those still fighting to be heard. She steps off the stage, knowing her voice will echo far beyond these walls, inspiring others to speak their truth and to listen. Sunlight pours through the hospital's wide windows, spilling across polished floors and bustling hallways. Laughter rises from a group of nurses as they greet patients by name. Zariah walks these halls, her presence met with nods and smiles from staff and visitors alike. The atmosphere is lighter, the air filled with possibility. A young boy in a wheelchair races his sister down the corridor, their mother trailing behind, laughing. A doctor pauses to tie the boy's shoe, exchanging a quick joke before moving on. Janelle stands at the nurse's station, clipboard in hand, but her focus is on a new hire a young woman of color whom she's guiding through her first week. Zariah stops to chat with a group of medical students gathered near a bulletin board. They ask her about her research, about how she kept going when no one believed her. She answers honestly, her words carrying the quiet strength of someone who's seen change from the inside out. Camille watches from a distance, pride shining in her eyes. She sees staff of every background working together, sharing stories, supporting each other. The old barriers are gone, replaced by an easy camaraderie that feels both new and overdue. A janitor wipes down a window, pausing to wave at Zariah. She waves back, grateful for every small kindness that now fills these halls. The hospital, once a place of exclusion, now reflects everyone who enters: patients, staff, families, and dreamers. As Zariah heads toward the exit, sunlight warms her face. She glances back at the bright, busy corridor, knowing the work isn't finished, but trusting that progress will continue. Change endures here, not in loud declarations, but in the gentle assurance of welcome, dignity, and hope.